welcome back to the Rach the Wretched One podcast. I know, it's been a while. It's been over a month actually. I think the reason being is I ran out of things to talk about. I never ever thought that would happen. Always my mind is going on and off with like lots of different weird things. But I was finding that actually doing it once a week was leaving me with not a lot to really talk about, and I just don't want to force things. I don't want to be like, pulling stuff out of the air just to have something to chat about on a podcast. So I thought, do you know what? Let me just leave it for a while, see what things happen in my life, see what things I remember, write it down like you do in a journal, and then come back to it. No big deal. It's not like there's thousands of people sitting on the edge of their seats anticipating my next podcast anyway. So the great thing is to do it when you feel. Almost like what I said before about, you do this to please strangers, not to please the people you know. And also you've got to do things for yourself and stay true to yourself at the same time. So I'm back. Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. So I've had a lot of time to think about random rubbish. And one of the main ones that I wrote down when I was looking at my little notes and diaries, and this is like from months ago. Why don't like chip shops allow you to layer your salt and vinegar when you get it open? Yes, it's random, but it's something that really bugs me every time I go and get chips. So this happened like a month or so ago. It was a Friday after work, and we've got like a chip shop near to where we work as well as the pub. So as you know, you're always outside, you're drinking, and that's when you get a bit peckish. So I popped into the chip shop, really nice chip shop by the way, and ordered a portion of chips open. So for those of you that are not in the UK, open is just like they wrap it so that you're able to eat it there and then in almost like a cone shape. If it's closed, they wrap it up like a little parcel so that when you get home, you can open it up and, dish it up and eat it. So I got it open. And the thing is, they put all the chips in this cone, and then you've got like the salt and vinegar, and all you can do is like put it on the top and then like shake it up to try and get it to the bottom, which is long because you end up with like a whole load of what my son will call blank chips at the bottom with no seasoning on them. So why don't they let you, put the layer in, shake the salt and vinegar on, put another layer on, shake the salt and vinegar on it. It won't take that long to do. There's probably 2 scoops. That was jarring because I'm there doing that thing that we all do where you're trying to close the top of the open fish and chips or chips and then sort of like shake it just to try and disperse all the salt around it, and the vinegar's not going to get on there anyway. And then it happens anyway. You're there, everybody takes their portion of chips from you because, when you come out with open chips and it smells really good, everyone's like, oh, let's have one. So the top layer gets taken. So by the time everybody's finished taking their share, you're left with just potato, basically. So we're still enjoying some really nice weather. And we're coming out of hay fever season, I think. Actually, I don't even think there was a big hay fever season because in my house, like my son and my husband especially suffer from hay fever. Like my husband is worse. He gets like the sneezing and the itchy eyes and stuff. But didn't see much of it actually this year. But one of the things that I find really funny is like the people that like over sneeze. So my husband does it. Like when he sneezes, like you can hear it from like upstairs. He's like, ah, he does this massive sneeze. And when I was walking home the other day, this is like, I would say, what are we in now? We're in September and it's before I went away. So it was about end of July time. I was walking on the other side of the road down near, where was it? It wasn't near the Strand, it was like near Fleet Street. Anyway, so I'm walking, so I'm just trying to give you an idea of how wide the road was. So I'm walking, and I'm walking up to like the train station as I do, and as there's another guy on the other side of the road, he sneezes. I'm telling you, it's like he shook the whole street. Like, when he sneezed, I thought his whole, like, his intestines were going to come out, or he was literally going to, blow half his face off. Because it was like, achoo! And then, the echo that went across, like, the empty street made about 5 or 6 of us turn around to look at him. It's like, dude, you don't have to be so extra with the sneeze. Like, we get it. You needed to clear something from your nasal passage because it was irritating you. And it was a natural, involuntary reaction. But all you had to do is just do your sneeze and keep it moving. The man doubled over with the sneeze and everything. I'm like, don't that hurt people? Doesn't that hurt when you do them extra sneezes? Doesn't it like rattle your brain? Jeez. Kids are annoying, aren't they? Because I was thinking about this because the other day, I was in the car park of my local supermarket, Aldi. If you go back to listening, Aldi's my supermarket. I go there, save a lot of money. I've done a whole chat about it before. So I'm sitting there and there's this mum and she's like in the car and panicking because she's looking, I can hear her saying something like, is my handbag there? Is my handbag? Is my handbag actually there? And like, basically, she's sitting in the front. She's got another child in the passenger seat, and then behind her must be her son, her younger son. And so the son in the back is like, what? I don't know. I can't see it. So she's stressing because she's probably, she's got the seatbelt on, so she's trying to get the seatbelt off because she's thinking, Lord, where's my bag? Where's my bag? And so she's like, what do you mean? Is it there? Is it there? And she's asking him, where's the bag? And then like when she finally untangles herself from the seatbelt and comes out around the back, the boy's like, yeah, it's here, mum. Smiling. She weren't smiling. She was not smiling at all. She was vexed because it got her all hot and sweaty. I think kids are on a death wish sometimes, and they do that to irritate you. And it reminds me of the story of my younger brother, like when we were young. Well, we were going to school one day, and going to school, that was the time I can say when I was young was when my mum got the most stressed because, I mean, I do it now as well. It's like, it's the time when it's like, you don't have much time. You've got to get the kids out and yourself out, especially if you're trying to catch a bus to get to where you're going and there's a finite time that you've got. And it's always the time that you seem to mislay your keys or you can't find your bus pass or you put something down and you need it for that day, like your purse, and you can't find it. So anyway, I remember it was the day mum, she always had the face on in the morning and she was stressed out and we were getting ready to go to school and it was raining. So she needed her umbrella because we were going to cross the road and then get on the bus to go down to school. So she's there like, where's my umbrella? Have you seen my umbrella? Have you found my umbrella? She's stressing out. The clock's ticking. We all knew that the bus comes at a certain time. We needed to get that bus. And then my brother, he's 3 years younger than me. I've got two brothers. One who's 16 years younger than me and one who's 3 years. So the 3 years younger than me brother, because this is before the younger one was born, he's like helping look and we're all looking. And then he's like, oh, I found it. So mum's like, oh, thank God, thank you. And then she goes to get it from him and he goes, not really. Mate, mum lost it. Mum lost it with my brother. And now I'm older, I can see why. Because, you're so stressed and all you wanted someone to do was say, I found it. And then to cruelly take that away from you at that, pinpoint that moment in time. Yeah, it wasn't good for my brother that morning. I think we did find it in the end, but yeah, it just reminded me when I was in the car park, seeing that mum getting stressed about her bag and having her young son play with her like that reminds me of my brother. I wonder if it's just something that the boys did, because it's something I would have never have done to my mum, because I had empathy. I could see that she was highly stressed. And funnily enough, with the woman in the car, it was, the child next to her was a girl, so maybe the girl had empathy like, my mum is stressed. Let me not mess with her. But the boy, he didn't care. He was like, nah, this is going to be funny. Even if I have to take some pain for this, it's going to be jokes. Speaking of that car park, one of the days after that, it was like a lovely hot sunny day, right? And I went in to do my shop, as I do, and I was in there. I parked up my car and I remember parking up and, I was in the space, the car parking space, just because they were quite wide. And my car's like a little, it's a small little Kia. It's not like a big, wide kind of car. So I parked up, when I got my trolley, did a massive shop because we were going to have a family party like at the end of the summer, so the end of August. And so I was just going to buy last minute supplies for this party. So I was taking my time in the shop. Really hot day that day, I remember. So I come out and then there's a guy leaning up against his car. I think it was like a white Mercedes, like a really nice, sporty white Mercedes. I think, was it a convertible? I think it had a convertible roof, but it wasn't open. Anyway, he's leaning up against it. And you always, I don't know why, but you always see a lot of guys, they do seem to lean up against their car, especially if it's maybe hot or if they want to have a smoke and maybe their wife or partner's inside the store and they've decided not to be in there. They'll just like, you know, lean up against their car and wait for them to come out. As I said, it was a beautiful, blazing hot day, so I assumed that's what he was doing. He didn't want to sit in a hot car for like an hour. So I proceed to bring my trolley to my boot, open the boot, and because I'd bought a whole load of stuff, I had some bags left in my car to be able to transfer like some of the stuff that I didn't, you know, pack in the shop, because you know how Aldi is. They don't give you no time for packing. Literally, it's like, come off my till. When the woman's like scanning that thing, you're racing her to take the stuff off that tiny little area so that you can get it in your basket. And basically the intent is to have like, you know, a faster track of people going through the tills, so you haven't got that time to pack. There's a section where you can go and pack, or you can pack in your car. So I'm there, opening up bags in my car, putting stuff in, making sure it's all fitting, make sure the bottles aren't getting smashed, making sure the eggs are all right, taking my time, because you do, innit? And it's a lovely hot day. So I finally do that, shut the boot, then get my trolley, walk all the way back to the trolley park bit, which was the other side. Because I've got this thing about, I don't like to park near trolley parks because I think it just encourages me to be lazy. I like to have that little walk. So I walk all the way back, you know, take my little token out, put it back on my key ring, because I use one of them key ring tokens. So put it on my key ring, get back to my car. This guy, by the way, is still leaning up against his car. And he's leaning up sort of like facing my passenger side. So he's in between my passenger side and his driver's side, leaning. So as I go around to my driver's side of the door, he's like, thank you. I'm like, what? Sorry? And he's like, thank you. I said, oh, okay. I'm baffled at this point. And he's like, yeah, so I can't get into my car. And with me, my instinct just kicked in, like logic kicked in. I looked at him and I was like, so you waited for me to come over, pack the boot of my car, shut my boot, go back to the trolley park, take my key token out of the trolley and put it on my key ring and then come back. Oh, well, I've been waiting here for like, you know, 20 minutes, so I thought another 5 minutes wouldn't help. So I was like, okay. Because what could I say? I'm thinking, boy, if you wanted to put yourself through that kind of pain, that's your business. Me, on the other hand, if I couldn't get into my car, I would have A, gone into the store to ask, would the driver of X car please come out? Or B, as soon as I saw you coming out of the store, say, I can't get into my car. So I proceeded to go to walk to my car. And then I thought, hang on a second. And I said to him, so you couldn't go in at the driver's side? He could. The other side of his car was blank. There was no car there. So I was like, so you couldn't have gone in on the driver's side? No, I couldn't have. So again, I went, right, okay. So I'm thinking, this guy, I think he wanted, in his head, he'd planned that he was going to have this big old intellectual, superior, kind of sarcastic conversation with whoever was in the car next to his. You know, because he was thinking, you know, I've got this nice car. I'm doing well. I'm very intellectual. I should be able to handle this. And I think it just didn't go the way he planned it. So I was like, okay. And then the final thing he said to me was, so are you all right then on your side? Looked over and saw that there was space. And I went, no, I'm going to have to go through the boot. Just got in my car and drove off. What an idiot. Moving back to work in London, especially after you haven't done it for, you know, a couple of years, it's like a culture shock, really. It's almost like, you know, you've been out of the loop for a little while and you have to pick up the new nuances and rules, or the unwritten rules that are going on. So things that I've noticed, I remember, I don't think I said this before, I think I've said this to friends, is one thing I noticed is like the queuing at buses don't happen anymore. I remember, you know, you'd get to a bus stop and not necessarily queue, but you know where you were in the order. So you'd get there and you think, right, I'm behind the lady in the red jacket, or I'm behind the mum with the buggy. I know I came after her. And then as other people come, mentally, you can see they do that. And then as the bus pulls up, or the tube pulls up, everybody does it, in order of where they thought they were, and it normally works. But since coming back to London, I realised it's a free-for-all. Literally, everybody just comes, and then the train or the bus will pull up, and they'll just get on, raggo. They'll just get on. They don't care. And so I'm finding myself doing it now. So it's almost like I'm losing that kind of good, friendly spirit about being a commuter or being a citizen in a town or a city. I'm falling in with the bad habits and the bad behaviours of everybody else in order to get by, which is quite sad, really. I'm also noticing that in London now, zebra crossings don't matter anymore. So, you know that with a zebra crossing, that if you are standing at the end of the zebra crossing as a pedestrian, the cars will stop and let you cross. So where I live now, it still happens. There's one outside my son's school. As soon as the kids stand there, the cars stop. The same with me. As soon as I see somebody approaching or being at the end of the zebra crossing, I stop. Not in London. Nope. Literally, when you're on the zebra crossing, don't just step out there thinking that cars are going to stop. And they're not. And that goes for buses and taxis. So, inverted commas, kind of government kind of vehicles that should know better, they will still drive. Even if you're on the zebra crossing, cars will still be going. So you're almost having to stop and start. And I'm like, when did that change? When did it change from, actually obeying the highway code and now just being I'm driving. If I see them, I see them. If I don't, oh well. And I'm wondering, how do tourists deal with it? Because remember, a lot of tourists don't even look the same way as we do when we're crossing the road. They look in the other direction and then stepping out, and they're going to get licked down if they're not careful. I'm having to look now both ways, wait, and it's only taken me up until maybe a few weeks ago to have that kind of smooth confidence that you normally have being a person in a big city, to know when to step out. Because before I was frightened, man. I'm getting ready to step out and cars are zhuzhing by. I'm looking like some little country mouse whoa, where's all these vehicles coming from? Yeah, it's mad out there. Another thing I've noticed as well is older people on phones and bloody social media. They keep their phones on loud with how Facebook and Instagram can automatically play your videos loud. And normally, when that happens, you're quick to quickly mute it because, sometimes the things that you like watching aren't for everyday consumption in terms of maybe the language or the subject matter. So if you haven't got your headphones, you make sure that the mute is on. But no, I've seen people, and they're always of a certain age. They just sit there with their glasses on the end of their nose, holding their phone 50 feet away from them so that they can get good focus. And they're letting the things just play. So they'll just be scrolling through, and then you'll hear some jokes or some noise or some motivational speaker or some religious talk, and then they'll move on to the next one, or watch an entire YouTube video on someone chatting pure poop, and sit there and watch it and don't feel no way. Watch it intensely. And I'm looking around there's that meme of that black girl I think it must have been either the Wendy Williams show or Tyra Banks show, and there's that black girl and she's got black hair with red ends, and she's looking around what? Does nobody see what I'm seeing? And that's me. I'm is nobody hearing or seeing what is going on here? Allowing this woman or this man to just literally go through their whole social media feed and relax and listen to everything on loud, while the rest of us have to pretend that we can't hear. And I look like I'm the only one. Everyone's just ignoring it, so maybe everyone's used to it. Since my last podcast, a load of really nice things have happened. So I had, as I said, a family summer party, and it was really good to have family and friends, some that I haven't seen in ages, come, and we danced and drank. We normally did those things every year, and we didn't do it last year, but we're definitely going back to doing it. And we had great weather, and it's, I think, a good way just to catch up with everybody in such a relaxed atmosphere, and also to talk offline. And I think I've said this before, what goes on online isn't necessarily reflective of what is happening in people's real lives. So it's really lovely just to see everyone and just talk and be real. So absolutely love that. And then prior to that, my younger cousin got married, which was great because he's our younger cousin, but he's also our god brother because my parents are his god parents at the same time. And it was so lovely. It was a beautiful hot day. It was scorching, and it was just good to see all the family and also to see two young people in love who are really going somewhere. You can just see they both got the same focus. They've got great goals. They're so compatible. Tying the knot in their way and being really expressive in their love in the way that they want to. So it was really good to see. So they'd written their own vows, and it was really lovely to see them both stand up and express their vows to each other. And it reminded me of the wedding vows that me and my husband, wrote to each other when we got married way back in the day. Funnily enough, and what we're going to do is, what we want to do is renew our vows, and if we can, almost recreate the wedding that happened, and get everybody that was part of the wedding party and see how they've grown over the 20 years and see what's changed. And I made the funny joke because I thought your wedding vows almost are a bit like your PDP at work. When you have to do your progress reports. So you sit with your boss, and then at the beginning of the month they're like, so what are your goals and how are you going to achieve them? And you're like, well, I want to hit this target. I want to introduce this many clients into the business. I want to I've gone on this course. I want to be able to present to the board this strategy, etc., etc. And then a month later, you sit back down, or maybe 2 months later, or at the end of the year, and it's reviewed, isn't it? So literally all your progress is reviewed. All of the points that you said you were going to do, you're going to review. So I said to my husband, maybe what we could do is do a review of our wedding vows. So 20 years on, let's have our, progress report, PDP, and then sit there and be like, right, so at the start, you said that, you'd always be the wife there, that, never get angry and I'll never say a bad word to you. So let's see how often you did that. You also said, oh, hun, when we're together, I'm not going to be like those other girls. I'm going to cook home-cooked meals for you every day. Let's see how that went then. Let's see. I have takeaway 70% of the time, and I have home-cooked meals, not including reheated pasta and microwave meals. I would say, maybe 5 to 10%, or it might be from his side, him saying, I'm going to support you and take care of you. And then, you look back and he's like, well, when I had that money, yeah, I did get that bonus, but I wanted to go on that lad's holiday. And also, like, I really, really, really wanted to get that new iPhone that came out. So, yeah, I didn't buy you what you wanted for your birthday. So, could you imagine doing one of those types of reviews 5, 10, 15 years later? Maybe that's something that needs to be instilled into marriages to make sure that we stay on track. Speaking of marriages, one of the things that my husband does that drives me up the wall is his, what I call mild gaslighting. So not gaslighting to the effect of, oh my God, I'm going to tear my hair out, I think I'm going mad. Gaslighting to the fact of, I know what I did, so don't try it. That kind of gaslighting. It's mild, but it's irritating that he thinks it's going to work. It's like fake Jedi mind tricks. So, case in point, this story. And this happened a few weeks ago. So I put loads of clothes on the washing line, big sheets, because it's easy to dry the sheets, and it was a lovely hot day. Thing is, where we live, there's a lot of trees, so we do get a lot of spiders and creepy crawlies in the house and outside. So anyway, the evening comes, and me and my husband are getting ready to put new sheets on the bed. And I thought, oh, let's take the nice sheets that we've just dried outside and put those on, because as everybody knows, there is nothing better than getting into a bed with crisp, washed, fresh sheets. Side note, my husband always seems to be the first one to get in as well. So we'll do that, and then he manages to creep into the bed first, and he'll be like, ah, this is lovely. That jars me as well. Anyway, I digress. So basically, we're there putting the sheets on, getting ready to put the sheets on the bed. So I think we get the bottom sheet on, and then we get to put the duvet sheet on. So it's almost done. We're just doing the pillowcases and stuff now. And one big dirty spider, just falls out of some, like, you know, clothes that were on the floor that from the laundry. I screamed. And when I say big dirty spider, it wasn't a daddy long legs. I don't mind daddy long legs. I don't mind the little money spiders. It was, we get them these, like, you know, British house spiders, which are like, sometimes they're brown and sometimes they're black, and they've got, like, you know, really thick legs. Oh, and they're massive. They could sit, I would say, in the palm of your hand, not including your fingers, just the palm. My brother will attest to this, my younger brother, because he nearly smashed his hand up when he slept over at ours and he saw one in the living room. So there's some big dirty spiders. So I scream, I'm like, there's a spider! Oh my God! So my husband's like, what? What are you talking about? I'm like, it's there! And then it does the worst thing that spiders can do. It scuttles off. Now for me, I need to see you at all times. I don't like spiders, but I need to see where you went. And it disappeared like that. So my husband comes over. What are you talking about? Are you sure? Are you sure you saw the spider? So he's doing the mild gaslighting now. Are you sure you saw a spider? I'm like, I know what a spider looks like. And I know that that was a spider. And I know I saw the spider. I'm not hallucinating. And then he does this. Oh, it's probably gone. You probably never saw anything. It's probably gone. I'm like, I'm not sleeping in this bed because there's a spider that just jumped out of the laundry and now it's loose in this room. And I'm about to go to bed. It's not happening. Because, backtrack, a few years ago on a Saturday morning, I woke up, as you do, and I felt something tickling on my left arm. And when I looked, there was a spider sitting on my left arm. Don't know how long it had been sitting there. Probably was chilling all night, you know, because I was fast asleep. And I lost it. So I was like, that's it. So back to now, I said to my husband, do you know what? I'm not staying in the same room as this lost spider. I know you'll think it's imaginary, but I saw it. And he's like, no, don't be like that. Don't be silly. It's probably gone. I'll check. Look, it's gone. I'm like, how do you know it's gone if you never saw it in the first place? Anyway, so there's me vex, right? So I take my pillow, but so he starts like finishing the bed and then he does the pillows and he's like, what? Don't be silly. Don't go downstairs. I'm like, no, I'm going. So I go to our airing cupboard. I get a spare duvet. And then I come back to the room and I grab my pillow and I go downstairs. And I'm like, that's it. I'm not sleeping here. So anyway, I go downstairs. I go to sleep, have a good night. And I think it was a weeknight as well. So it was a work night. And I slept on the sofa. I just felt better because I just felt like that thing is in the room and I don't know where it is. And it will just, all night I'll be scared. So the next morning, I come back upstairs and we're chatting and he's like, do you have a good sleep? And I'm like, yeah, it was good, you know. And he goes, hon, I'm sure that spider's gone. And I don't even think there even was a spider. Still going on about it. I'm like, look, don't start. I know there was a spider. So I put the duvet back in the airing cupboard and then my pillow that I had from the night, I put it on the bed. And then I turn to my husband and I go, what is that? And he's like, what? And I go, that. And I point to my own pillow and there's a mass under the pillowcase. Like there's a dark, spidery mass under the pillowcase where my face was. He looks at me and he goes, I'll go and look. And I went, I'm leaving the room. I'm going out. I'm going out of the room. And I shut the door because one thing I do know, what the mind can imagine is going to be far less than what the reality is. So I would rather imagine, and if you imagine something, you can lose that imagination because you're like, what if it never happened? You never saw it. So I left the room and I heard my husband doing what he was doing and then I heard the toilet flush. And then he went to tell me something and I said, we will not speak of this. I don't want to talk about it. But his face was like, oh, yeah. Man, I can't believe it. So I literally had squashed said horrific spider with my own face. With my own face. It was like a bad horror film. You know where the victim tries to get away from the axe murderer only to go in her room and the axe murderer is in the bed or something. It was the same thing. I was running away from said spider, only for it to have been against my face and for me to have killed it with my face in my sleep. Ugh. We've come to the end of my podcast. I'm hoping to maybe do this once every 2 weeks instead of once a week, because I think once a week I might not have many things that happen. Weeks go by really quickly and my life is quite monotonous in a good way, in that, you know, it's just routine. You get up, you go to work, not many things happen. So unless, you know, I have some crazy random thoughts, I will pick it up with, you know, it being weekly. But I'm going to try and experiment and see what happens if I do it every 2 weeks. So my thought for this podcast is, remember the strength of your mind and remember that your imagination is never going to be as horrific as the reality. So if you're in a situation like I was, walk away. Don't force yourself to see it, because you will know that you saw it, and what you saw will never be erased. Where it's in your mind, you can talk about it. It never happened technically because I didn't see it. That is what I'm going with, and that's what I'm sticking to. Until the next time, bye.